Imagine an army watching hundreds of enemy tanks approaching, and instead of stopping to fight them head-on, those tanks simply break through, race deep behind the lines, cut communications, surround entire armies, and keep moving. In 1940, this kind of warfare shocked Europe, and at the center of Germany's armored revolution was a general named Heinz Guderian. But how did one man help change the way modern armies fought? After World War I, most military commanders still imagined war as a slow battle of trenches, artillery, and infantry. Guderian saw something different. He became fascinated with tanks, radios, and the ability to coordinate armored units at incredible speed. His idea was simple but revolutionary. Don't use tanks merely to support infantry. Use concentrated armored forces to break through the enemy's weakest point. Then keep going. And there was one technology that could make this possible: the radio. German armored units could communicate rapidly, coordinate movements, and react to changing situations much faster than many of their opponents expected. This concept became associated with what the world would later call Blitzkrieg, lightning war. The idea wasn't simply send tanks forward. It was about combining speed, armor, aircraft, artillery, communications, and infantry into a coordinated attack. First, enemy positions could be disrupted. Then armored units would punch through. Instead of stopping after capturing the front line, they would drive toward bridges, headquarters, supply routes, and communication centers. The goal? Don't just defeat the enemy's soldiers. Destroy the enemy's ability to organize a defense. That was the terrifying part. An army could still have thousands of soldiers. But if its headquarters were surrounded, communications destroyed, and supply lines cut, its strength could collapse incredibly quickly. Then came 1940. Germany invaded Western Europe. The French and British had powerful forces, and France possessed formidable tanks of its own. Many expected another slow war like World War I. Instead, German armored forces broke through the Allied defenses in the Ardennes. Guderian's formations pushed rapidly westward. They didn't wait for every unit to catch up. They kept moving. Faster. Deeper. Further. The Allied armies suddenly found German forces appearing far behind their expected defensive lines. The result was catastrophic. The German advance reached the English Channel, cutting off large Allied forces in Belgium and northern France. Hundreds of thousands of Allied troops became trapped. Britain would eventually evacuate much of its army from Dunkirk, and Europe had just witnessed what rapid armored warfare could accomplish. But here's where the story gets interesting. Guderian did not single-handedly invent Blitzkrieg. The concept developed from broader German military thinking, including ideas about maneuver warfare and combined arms operations. And the word Blitzkrieg itself wasn't simply the official name of Guderian's personal doctrine. But Guderian became one of its most important advocates and practitioners. His writings, his arguments for mechanized forces, and his battlefield leadership helped push Germany toward a future where tanks weren't just infantry's assistants, they could become the spearhead of an entire army. But the very speed that made this strategy terrifying also created problems. Fast-moving armies could outrun their fuel, ammunition, infantry, and supply lines. And against a huge country like the Soviet Union, speed alone could not guarantee victory. In 1941, Germany invaded the Soviet Union. The early German advances were enormous, but the war eventually became a brutal conflict of attrition, exactly the kind of war mechanized maneuver was supposed to avoid. Guderian himself would later clash repeatedly with Hitler over military decisions. His career ended in dismissal before he was eventually brought back into a senior position. Heinz Guderian wasn't the only man behind Germany's armored warfare revolution. But he helped prove something that military commanders around the world could no longer ignore. A battlefield could be won not only by destroying the enemy, but by moving so fast that the enemy never gets the chance to recover. And that idea would influence armored warfare for decades to come. This was Heinz Guderian, the man who helped turn the tank from a battlefield weapon into a weapon of speed. This is Hiddenverse,